Order 2020, a number of changes have been made in existing laws, particularly laws related to land management. May I request all colleagues to settle down? People on the left also kindly settle down. बैठ जाइए, हाँ? It will be comfortable for all of us. You are also aware that a number of old laws, at least 11 laws, have been repealed, and at least 4 major laws have been modified. This modification, repeal, and changes has led to a variety of reactions across the spectrum. And many of these reactions have been uncharitable. For example, some political parties have said J&K is now on sale. Some others have said or commented that there is no protection in J&K with regard to land on similar lines as it has been given to people in other states. We think there is a lot of misapprehension, misinformation, and lack of clarity on all these issues. So the three of us thought we will share with you some of the salient features of these acts and inform you about some of the changes that have been made, and also explain what necessitated those changes. Which acts have been repealed, why, which are the modifications, and what are some of the safeguards that have been built in. I think the first point that we need to understand that the entire gamut of land laws which was existing in Jammu and Kashmir was probably a product of its time, may be appropriate to the time when it was introduced, but it was essentially meant to serve an old agrarian rural economy. Quite obviously, many of these laws had become outdated, obsolete, and as new laws kept getting added, the system of land laws, when looked at as a whole, suffered from not only redundancy and obsoleteness, but also ambiguities and contradictions. And in many cases, the laws that were in existence were clearly regressive and anti-people. Now, how was this so? Let me give you a few examples. The Big Landed Estates Abolition Act fixed a ceiling of 182 canals, but the act was superseded by the Agrarian Reforms Act of 1976, which refined it, made a provision of 100 standard canals, yet both the BLEA and the Agrarian Reforms Act 1976 continued to coexist. The Agrarian Reforms Act of 1976 is, as we speak, 44 years old. We are in 2020 now. Yet, this act prohibited the selling of any land that was available to the tiller. So, as a result, even after a generation had passed, and even after 44 years, this land could not be sold or transacted. What was the consequence? You had a large number of so-called Benami transactions and restrictions for the next generation to transact this land, which was otherwise legitimately made available to the tiller. Another example, the Agrarian Reforms Act of 1976 had ended tenancy, but the Tenancy Stay on Ejectment Proceedings Law 1966 still continues to be in force. There are still more interesting examples. We had a very good law, the Prohibition of Conversion of Land and Alienation of Orchards Act 1975. Now, quite correctly, this law prohibited the alienation of orchard lands, which was a laudable objective. But surprisingly, it also restricted the creation of new orchards, and to create a new orchard, the permission of the government was required. Similarly, the Right of Prior Purchase Act placed severe constraints and restrictions on an owner's right to dispose of his own property, so much so that neighbors and others had a so-called right of first refusal, both in urban and rural properties, restricting the rights of an owner to dispose of his own properties. I can go on and on and on about some of the ambiguities, contradictions, difficulties in the old laws. I mean, just to give one or two more examples, different across laws. So, at the end of all this, we had a gamut of land laws which was sometimes inconsistent, sometimes ambiguous, sometimes contradictory, and at other times clearly opposed to the interests of the public at large. So there was a need to, if I may say so, straighten up, clean up the system and provide a set of land laws which was simpler, which would prevent unnecessary litigation and which would prevent discretionary interpretation of these laws. And as we know, any discretionary interpretation of laws leaves aside scope for vested interests to operate. So this is the background which I thought I will clarify to you. So what has been done now? As I have said, 11 laws have been repealed. And which are the laws which have been repealed? Again, I will give you a couple of examples. So laws which were either redundant or obsolete, or as I said, people unfriendly, they have been repealed. Good example, tenancy stay of ejectment proceedings has been repealed. Now there was a law called the Jammu and Kashmir Utilization of Lands Act, which empowered the state to take over any land which had not been cultivated for 2 years. This has been repealed. There was the J&K Floodplain Zones Regulation and Development Act 2005. Now why has this been repealed? This has been repealed because all the provisions of this law are already available in the Water Resources Regulation and Management Act 2010. I spoke to you about the problems with Right of Prior Purchase Act. This has been repealed. Similarly, tenancy stay of ejectment has been repealed. Consolidation of Holdings Act 1962, Land Improvement Scheme 1972, Prevention of Fragmentation of Agricultural Holdings Act 1960, Common Lands Regulation Act 1956. These are some of the 11 laws which have been repealed. But I must clarify here that many of these laws had interesting and people-friendly provisions, and each of these provisions we have taken care to ensure that these are saved in the new acts or the new codes which have come about. For example, Section 20B of the Big Landed Estates Abolition Act has now been saved as 133B of the Land Revenue Code. The relevant provisions of the Consolidation of Holding Act 1962, Land Improvement Scheme 1972, Prevention of Agricultural Holdings Act 1960 have all been brought together, consolidated and saved under Section 23 of the Land Revenue Act. In fact, the focus has been to work towards a land revenue code which is consistent, which is clear, which is unambiguous. So we have attempted to take out as many relevant provisions as possible and place them at appropriate positions in the land revenue code, so that, like in the rest of the country, the land revenue code, the land revenue act, becomes a code, a uniform and a consistent set of laws. And to provide for certain progressive provisions such as setting up of a revenue board, regional planning for regulating use of land. The important provision that I want to draw your attention to is that under the new land laws, agricultural land can only be sold to agriculturists. Now, how is agriculturalist defined? Agriculturist has been defined as a person who cultivates land personally in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. A lot of people, as I said, have spoken about there not being adequate safeguards. I wish to emphasize and re-emphasize that agricultural land can only be sold to agriculturalists, and agriculturist is defined as somebody who cultivates personally within the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So by implication, agricultural land cannot be sold or alienated to anybody who is from outside the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, we have gone one step further. Anybody who is a domicile of UT, anybody who is a who is a resident of UT but not an agriculturist, not an agriculturist means not in personal cultivation, can also not buy agricultural land. The terms agricultural land and agriculturist have been unambiguously defined, and I only want to draw one more attention to one more point, which is that the term agriculture has been expanded vastly in scope to include not just agricultural activities but also a whole series of horticulture activities, a whole series of agro-based activities, including fallow land, animal husbandry, poultry, etc. So the provision of this one clause alone will ensure that more than 90% of land in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, which is agricultural in nature, remains protected, inalienable, and with the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Because we wanted to clarify these things. बहुत सारी चीजें शायद public domain में नहीं थी, इसी वजह से हमने सोचा कि we'll clarify some of them.
So my next question is that because
इसमें provisions क्या है, ये मैंने explain किया. But what I want to emphasize and re-emphasize is तीन चीजें मैं emphasize करना चाहता हूँ. एक, एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड के लिए प्रोटेक्शन है, इंसाइडर्स के लिए प्रोटेक्शन है, जिससे 90% से ज्यादा लैंड प्रोटेक्टेड है. दूसरा, जो हमने लैंड डेवलपमेंट लॉज में स्टैट्यूटरी कॉर्पोरेशन बनाई है, उसका पर्पस ये है कि अगर इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन के लिए जमीन की आवश्यकता है तो वो एक तरीके से तरतीबवार से दी जा सके ताकि कोई अननेसेसरी लैंड ना ले सके. सो अगर इंडस्ट्रीज डिपार्टमेंट को इंडस्ट्रीज डेवलप करना चाहता है तो जाहिर है उससे एम्प्लॉयमेंट आएगी, बट दैट हैज बीन डन इन अ प्रॉपर्ली रेगुलेटेड फैशन थ्रू द ऑपरेशन ऑफ दीज लॉज.
अगर कोई यूपी से आना चाहता है, बिहार से आना चाहता है और नॉन एग्रीकल्चरल लैंड खरीदना चाहता है, तो उसके लिए क्या प्रोसेस होगा और उसमें कौन कौन से डॉक्यूमेंट्स जो हैं वो उनको देने पड़ेंगे? जम्मू कश्मीर में भी बहुत से लोग बड़े सालों से रहते हैं, वो भी इस चीज़ का इंतजार करते हैं. डीसी ऑफिस के सामने भी कई लोग पहले भी आए थे. तो क्या ये प्रोसेस आप लोगों ने बना दिया है और क्या क्या उनको चाहिए होगा?
Yes, you are right. Then the regulations they are to be framed, specifying what are the documents, minimum documents which are required to establish that you are a bona fide buyer to buy land in the non-agricultural category.
चलिए, if there are no other questions, huh?
Sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, last question. प्लीज आइडेंटिफाई
सर रवि शर्मा फ्रॉम जम्मू परिवर्तन।
जी बताइए।
सर सवाल मेरा ये है कि 370 के हटने के बाद पहली बात ही यही कही गई कि जो भी लैंड होगी उस पर कोई भी बात नहीं होगी, जो लैंड है वो आपके लिए सेफ रहेगी। कहीं ना कहीं यही वजह रही कि लोग अपने आप को ठगा हुआ महसूस कर रहे हैं। पर इस समय काफी लोगों में अफवाह ये भी उठ रही है कि 371 है वो भी लागू हो सकता है। क्या इसको आप क्लैरिफाई करते हैं कि 370 आने वाले समय पर आ सकता है या नहीं आ सकता?
देखिए मैडम, मैं तो केवल इतना ही आपसे निवेदन करना चाहूंगा कि मैंने आपको विस्तृत विवरण दिया कि जो लॉज अडेप्ट होके गैजेट में पब्लिश हो चुके हैं उनकी क्या मंशा है और उनके जरिए हम क्या अडॉप्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। और एक चीज मैं जरूर आपसे कहना चाहूंगा कि बहुत चर्चा में ये भी बात आई कि अन्य राज्यों की तरह यहाँ के रेजिडेंट्स को प्रोटेक्शन नहीं दी जा रही है। उसमें मैं ये स्पष्ट करना चाहूंगा, क्लैरिफाई करना चाहूंगा कि जो प्रोटेक्शंस दी गई हैं वो क्वाइट सिमिलर टू व्हाट आर बीइंग ऑफर्ड इन हिमाचल एंड उत्तराखंड है। और जैसे मैं पुनः दोहराऊंगा कि सेक्शन 133 जो है उसमें नॉन एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट पे बैन तो है ही है, साथ में उसमें एक पूरा विवरण है A to H में कि किन हालात में क्या हो सकता है, व्हाट आर दी सेफगार्ड्स।
सर तमिलनाडु के